Shalom, family. Good to see you all. Hope you're doing well. Well, we're going to talk about Greenland. You know, Denmark and Greenland had representative. I think it was the president of Denmark and Greenland were both there, along with others, to dispute Donald Trump. They're not happy that he wants to take Greenland away from them. And the talks really did not go anywhere, but you're going to hear some of the things that happened and how the EU said they're going to retaliate on Donald Trump. So I'm going to let you listen to it rather than tell you. And the bottom line is 92% of the American people do not agree with Donald Trump on taking Greenland. They don't feel that it's the right thing to do. Now, Donald Trump is in desperation mode because he's messed up the economy with all those tariffs. And it also had an impact on the fact that the US dollar has crashed. And I guess he's trying to do whatever he can out of desperation, but we know this is the end of their kingdom. No matter what he does, it is not going to succeed. It's not. Look at how bad the talks with the US oil giants went. He had no takers for Venezuelan oil, none. And they're not very interested in investing money in Venezuela. So that did not go well at all. And now Greenland, I just don't see how this is going to be a good thing. But the EU, they're saying they are prepared to fight Donald Trump militarily. And they said there's other ways they can fight Donald Trump if he was to cross the line and take Greenland. Now, Donald Trump already said if he can't negotiate and get Greenland, he will do it by force. And he said something is going to happen within weeks. So we shall see, but let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see how things actually went yesterday. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
This morning, President Trump renewing his call for the U.S. to acquire Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens.
Top officials from Denmark and Greenland traveling to Washington, meeting with the Vice President and Secretary of State. But the high-stakes meeting appeared to make little progress. A Danish official declaring that a fundamental disagreement still remains.
We didn't manage to change the American position. It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering over Greenland. We made it very, very clear that this is not in the interest of the kingdom.
Hours before that meeting, President Trump insisting NATO would be stronger with Greenland in the hands of the United States. Adding anything less than that is unacceptable. For weeks, the president has been ramping up his rhetoric, saying one way or another, we're going to have Greenland, and has not ruled out using military force to get it.
I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Denmark, a NATO ally, has made it clear they're happy to work with the United States to bolster security in the region.
but that doesn't mean that we want to be owned by the United States.
The country now taking preventative measures to deter the U.S. from acting, expanding its military presence on the island and asking other NATO allies to help. Overnight, a Danish plane arriving on the island for a military exercise. Here at home, there is little to no support for using America's military to take Greenland. A new poll shows 86%, including nearly 70% of Republicans, oppose doing so. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell warning that if the U.S. goes after a NATO ally, it will be incinerating the hard-won trust of loyal allies. Other lawmakers agreeing.
Military action against Greenland would be the most serious national geopolitical mistake this country could make and would weaken us.
So the president's still not ruling out using military action. So our European allies have now responded with Operation Arctic Endurance, which means as of this morning, troops from France are now on the ground in Greenland. More troops will follow from other European countries, including Germany and Norway.
Listen carefully to this warning that's coming straight out of Europe. If you take Greenland, we'll take every single American base, from Aviano to Ramstein. From Romania to all the others, you lose them all, and you lose the entire position of American power since World War II. That's not hyperbole, that's a line in the sand. Greenland isn't just ice and land. It's tied to NATO, European sovereignty, and the alliances that has made the U.S. a global superpower since World War II. The U.S. doesn't dominate Europe by force. It does so by permission and partnership. Those bases, they exist because allies allow them to. So when talk of taking Greenland comes up, Europe is reminding Washington of a simple truth. You don't get empire benefits without alliance responsibilities. Try to act unilaterally, and the entire global military map changes overnight. This isn't about left versus right. This is about if America understands just how fragile their power actually is. Stay tuned for more geopolitical breakdowns you won't see on cable news. Share your thoughts in the comments section and follow me for more.
We have a major development this morning. A Republican has confirmed that if Donald Trump were to move forward with military intervention to try to annex Greenland, there would be enough votes to impeach the president of the United States, that it would be the, quote, last straw for Republicans in the House of Representatives.
There are straws left? There are straws. Did you have straws left? I don't have any straws left. I ran out of straws a long ass time ago. And I don't care if we're talking paper or the plastic ones that Trump brought back. I am so out of straws. And the fact that this is the one, I don't even have to give a rundown of events that happened in the last month, in this year, in 2026, to run out of straws. I mean, just think, what was your last straw? Because I imagine it happened so many years ago, you can barely remember the year in which it happened. Like, we're talking Epstein, Venezuela, Minnesota. Those are 3 straws right there that should have been the last one. But Greenland, that's the last, and I understand I'm not downplaying invading Greenland because that would be bad, but that's the last straw. That shows how feckless and how spineless this Congress is. That's what it took. They're finally like, well, I actually have a problem with that one. No, you should have had a problem a long ass time ago.
Invading Greenland is polling at under 10%. You thought Iraq was unpopular. Vietnam, Korea, just wait. You've seen nothing.
Well, that didn't go well.
Ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree.
How important it is from our side to strengthen our cooperation with the United States, but that doesn't mean that we want to be owned by the United States.
That was the foreign minister from Denmark standing alongside the foreign minister from Greenland, who said they could not reach an agreement with the United States about President Trump's ambition to take Greenland. They met with Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the White House today. Despite the very big disconnect between the two sides, the Danish minister tried to put a positive spin on the meeting.
We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president, while we at the same time respect the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark.
Greenland, of course, is a territory of Denmark, which is a NATO ally. And the White House and President Trump, through his recent rhetoric, have suggested that using the U.S. military to accomplish Trump's goal of making Greenland part of the United States is not off the table. Today, the Danish foreign minister said if Trump did that, Denmark would consider it an attack and would absolutely trigger Article 5 of the NATO alliance, which says an attack on one is an attack on all. Today, Trump was asked about how NATO plays into his plans for Greenland.
Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now?
I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
But the Danish minister said while they can agree there is a concern about overall security in the Arctic, Trump is wrong about the situation on the ground in Greenland.
It is not a true narrative that we have, Chinese warships all around the place. According to our intelligence, we haven't had a Chinese warship in Greenland for a decade or so. The Kingdom of Denmark has already stepped up our own contribution by committing additional funds for military capabilities, not dock slates, but ships, drones, fighter jets, etc. And we are definitely ready to do more.
Now, as I've reported repeatedly, the United States and Denmark are the oldest of allies. The partnership goes back 235 years. And since 1951, the two countries have worked off of a treaty that says the U.S. can have access to Greenland whenever it wants and can have as many military bases as it wants. But Trump continues to say having bases there isn't good enough for him. He says the United States needs to own Greenland. The Danes and the Greenlanders say that's not going to happen because Greenland is not for sale. Now, the U.S. and Denmark and Greenland say they will continue to talk to see if anything can be worked out.
The U.S. were to try to buy Greenland, what's it worth?
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money depending on what you need it for. So one of the things that's really important is it's not just the size, but the location as the climate's changing. So we had a conversation with Moses last hour about the world warming. Well, that's going to open up the Arctic Ocean here for a lot more journeys. So moving into the middle part of the century, you're going to see a lot more ships move around Greenland and in through the Northwest Passage, both surrounded by Greenland. It becomes a crucial shipping corridor that will save thousands of miles over the current conditions. So this is a big, big deal for trade internationally. Not only that, though, take a look at the size of Greenland, right? So if we take a look at past U.S. land purchases, if I try to find a comp, the Louisiana purchase is about the same size, 828,000 square miles. Alaska was 586,000, so Greenland is larger than Alaska. And the U.S. Virgin Islands we actually bought from Denmark previously, so we have some history here. If you take a look, though, at how much money these cost in current dollars, $543 million is cheap. We got so much land for so little money with the Louisiana Purchase and for Alaska, but it was at the time 2 to 3% of GDP. And so that's where I think we can start to build our analogs for how much we would pay for something like this. Not only that, you're paying for the elements there. So rare earth elements that the U.S. needs strategically for chips, for defense. There's a lot of them in Greenland. There is potentially 36 million tons of rare earth elements. That would be almost on par with China and many times what we have right now in the U.S. So it's hugely important for defense that way as well. And if we take a look at the other things that you pick up, graphite, lithium, uranium, titanium, all of these things that the U.S. has in short supply, there is a ton in Greenland. And so that, the net present value of that alone, just those resources, is somewhere around $400 billion. So the anchor, if we're making a negotiation here, is about $400 to $500 billion. That's about 1 time the net present value of all the things that you'd get out of there. Plus you get hydropower, things for data centers. All those things are super important. And then realistically, you could go to $750 billion if you did a 1.5 times multiple. You could go to even to $1 trillion and not actually be looking at a crazy valuation there, because when you think about it, this is an irreplaceable asset. There's only one of these. And yes, it's presently in the hands of an ally, but as far as the president is concerned, being able to control it ourselves and have control over both the resources and also the shipping traffic is super important. So though we'd start at $400 billion, we could actually come up quite a bit and actually not be getting a raw deal out of it.
And now he wants to take it. Of course he cannot take it. And I say, if you take it, we take every single base of the Americans, from Aviano to Ramstein, from Romania to all the other military bases will be confiscated, and you will lose it. If you take Greenland, you have to leave. It's very simple, Mrs. Miller. This is the leverage we have. You need these bases for global power projection. You won't have it. And we can defend ourselves very well. And we will do that without the US nuclear shield, without the US troops in Europe, without the American bases. We will simply run these bases ourselves, and we run your boys home into Chicago, and Ohio. And goodbye.
Mr. President, some people around here call me cranky. I've got a couple of buddies that call me cranky. You know what makes me cranky? Stupid. What makes me cranky is when people don't do their homework. What makes me cranky is when we tarnish the extraordinary execution of a mission I fully support in Venezuela by turning around and making insane comments about how it is our right to have territory owned by the Kingdom of Denmark. Folks, amateur hour is over. You don't speak on behalf of this U.S. Senator or the Congress. You can say it may be the position of the President of the United States that Greenland should be a part of the United States, but it's not the position of this government, because we are a co-equal branch. And if that were to come to pass, there would be a vote on the floor to make it real. Not the surreal sort of environment that some deputy chief of staff thinks was cute to say on TV. So you want to get me back to thanking the president for all the good things he's doing? Then give him good advice. One of two things happened with Greenland. Either one, the president came up with the idea that maybe we should have Greenland as a part of our assets. And somebody said that's a great idea, versus saying, Mr. President, take a look at our alliance. Take a look at the most important alliance in the history of the United States, the NATO alliance. This could actually destabilize that, Mr. President. Mr. President, you should know at one point we had 17 military installations in Greenland, and they'd be happy to have us back. They're not refusing to have us have access to project power into the Arctic. We could do it without taking over a NATO country. That's the sort of advice that they should have been given. So if the president thought it was a good idea, then he needs the expertise to say, Mr. President, that's why this is not a good idea. And I would defy you to find any credible general with a star on his shoulder who would say that it is, because they understand that the NATO alliance is what has kept this nation largely, or this world largely safe for over 75 years. The flip side could be that Mr. Miller or somebody else said, hey, this would be cool. Let's take over Greenland. It'll be like a big aircraft carrier. Well, that's stupid too. And I'm sick of stupid. I want good advice for this president, because I want this president to have a good legacy.
If any military member, including the generals on down to enlisted members, if any of them participate in the use of military force against Greenland without congressional authorization, they are following illegal orders. That's simply a fact.
Well, y'all, we're a few weeks away from some action on this thing. So we'll see if Donald Trump will act. So the talks really did not go that well. Not the way Donald Trump wanted it. I don't know why he thought people were going to come to that meeting and say, oh, okay, Donald Trump, here, we're just going to sign over Greenland to you. I knew that wasn't going to happen. They are very clear. And, you know, it's also been in the news. The people on Greenland said they don't want to be part of the United States. And the citizens here in the United States, 92% said they have no interest in taking over Greenland. They think this whole thing should be left alone. But remember, Donald Trump done screwed up so bad. He's trying to do whatever he can to generate money that he screwed up with the tariffs. You know, remember, a lot of countries are not buying US goods anymore. They refuse to do it because of Donald Trump's tariffs. So since he put those tariffs out, the country lost a lot of money and continues to lose money. So I guess he's on this land grab thing. I thought we were beyond all this land grabbing stuff, but I guess not for Donald Trump. But I just don't see this ending well for the US. And to be honest with you, I know some of you may think, oh, if he took it, nobody's going to do anything. I don't believe that. You know why? Because there's white people there. Venezuela was a different ball game. There are a bunch of brown people. They don't care about them. They don't care about them brown folks in Venezuela. But there are white people in Greenland. And I think because of that, they're going to react totally different than they did about Venezuela. That's just my honest opinion. So, y'all, I want to thank you for being here. And I thank you to the people that have donated. I still got a ways to go. So I deeply appreciate what you have all contributed. It definitely not going unnoticed. And I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I might have one more coming up a little later. I have to get orders together, some that came in today. So they're ready first thing in the morning to go out. So if, the time is not too late, then I might do another live. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your evening. Shalom, family.